Welcome to the Anderson and Lindhardt Show. This is episode 31. In this episode, we talk about negative emotions and some ways we can accept them rather than resist them. One of the ways discussed is through breathwork and meditation. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.
Got it. Welcome back, Anderson&Lindhardt Nation, episode 31.
That's right.
Dang, we're back at it. We've had a little bit of opposition, but we're not going to let it stop us, and we're ready to keep grinding and bring you guys the best content we can.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a quick update why we've been AWOL. So obviously I went on my Virginia trip, was gone for like 10 days, came back, we recorded one, and then we were going to get back into the groove, and then I got sick. I got Rona, man. And like, so I was just kind of out of it last week. So it was last Tuesday night when I first got sick. So now it's been exactly a week and I'm feeling a lot better. And so here we are again, and we're going to start getting them out more consistently now, start getting reels back out, things like that. So yeah, we had a little bit of opposition, but we're back now.
Right. I mean, this is, we try and practice what we preach. And we talked about, I want to say it was maybe like episode 11. We talked about opposition in all things. And I think, the adversary or whatever is out there knows you're frozen.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, okay. We're good. You were just
Cool.
frozen for a second. Let me double check my
Yeah, you were lagging.
Anyway, but okay, I think we're good now. Anyways, we're I lost my train.
Dude, you're good.
Oh, it's lagging again. What the heck?
Yeah, it might be me, but
It's opposition in all things.
yeah, as we were talking about,
We were just talking for 30 minutes and wasn't doing anything. As soon as we start recording, right, let me disconnect from my Wi-Fi and reconnect real quick, just so
okay.
If that's doing it. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I think my upstairs neighbors like start streaming, and I think when they start streaming, my Wi-Fi slows down a lot.
All right, let's see.
Plus, this room is the furthest from our Wi-Fi. So,
all right. I think we're
hopefully
good.
Never had this issue before, and then as soon as you bring up opposition,
I know. All right, hopefully we'll be good. I just disconnected and reconnected. So, can you cut that out, or should we just restart?
I can probably cut it out.
Okay. All right.
I can mess with it.
Anyways, opposition, our Wi-Fi just went out, but like I was saying, we try and do our best to live the things that we talk about, because we don't want to be hypocrites. And so we wanted to, push past some of the opposition that we've both been kind of receiving recently, and try and get back on track, because it's interesting. I find a lot of fulfillment, and I find a lot of joy in being able to do this podcast. And so I think being able to get back on track is going to be able to, help us be able to kind of push past some of the opposition that we've been receiving, and being able to kind of continue to push to get to where we want to get to. So like Reese said, we've had some opposition, but we're excited to get back at it and be able to kind of share some of our thoughts on kind of accepting negative emotions, dealing with negative emotions, and being able to kind of understand maybe why people, or like just discuss why people are so afraid of feeling negative emotions. So I don't know if you have like an opening thought, because this is kind of something that you were thinking about, and I'm totally in agreement on talking about it. So
yeah, no, I feel like I think it started emerging. Like, I've thought about the subject a lot, but lately it's been on my mind a lot, I think, because I've been trying to formulate a sort of process that I could take people through as a mentor, and like where would I start, because as a mentor teaches, and so I would want to be able to teach who I'm working with certain philosophies or whatever you want to call it. And so I was thinking, well, what would I want to teach first? And I think when people are first seeking out a mentor or personal growth or spiritual growth experiences, things like that, they automatically think that this is a pursuit of happiness, and that's it, and that what you're attempting to do by implementing these personal growth lifestyle changes and things like that, like what your attempt is to eradicate negative emotion and to fill
Right.
your life with positive emotion. Like I think that's most people's idea of what it is. That certainly was mine at first, where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to implement these tools to get rid of negative emotions. And then
You just kind of see like the billboard phrases of like positive vibes or good thoughts or happy
yeah,
feelings, and you're like, okay, is that all that the self-help industry is like these weird hippies that are just like meditating and pretend like nothing is wrong in
yeah,
the
like
world?
try to be okay with everything in their life. And people get very far into personal growth before they figure out that that's not what it's all about. Like some people will get years deep into it, and then they'll be unhappy, and they'll wonder why. And it's like, well, because you've been running away from negative emotion for all these years, and what you run away from chases you. And I think that's, so I was thinking, I'm like, these are just things I would want to teach a men
I'm gonna start running away from girls.
yeah,
They'll
dude.
start chasing me.
I don't know if that'll work. That might.
I don't think it works like
Yeah,
that. Anyways,
but you know what I'm saying? It's like if you run away from your fears, they chase you, and it gets more scary. And so was like, okay, if I was mentoring somebody new, what would I want to teach them first? And I think that's one of the first things I would want to teach is life is 50-50. There's negative and positive, and that's okay. And I'm not going to teach you how to get rid of negative, because that's impossible. And in fact, if you truly did get rid of all the negative in your life, it wouldn't be very long before you went out and started trying to cause trouble, because you'd be so gosh dang bored with a positive life. You would, if you were only feeling happy and
that would be taking out the opposition.
yeah, because then it would lose its sweetness and you'd get so bored. I often think, I'm like, what would I do? I'd probably go out on the street and like throw a brick through a window of a business, or I would go steal something from a store, like in plain sight. Hey, everybody, like I'm stealing this TV, because I'd be so bored. I'd be like, take me to jail, dude. Like that'd be better than doing the same thing I do every day. And I'm happy every day.
Right.
And so I just wanted, that's what's coming to mind. I'm like, I would want to teach people, hey, life is 50-50. It's up and down. I'm not going to teach you how to get rid of negative. I'm going to teach you how to be at peace with it all. And so the first person that comes to mind is Tony Robbins, because one of Tony Robbins' like big things is anyone who's read his books or listened to some of his material, his goal is to live in a beautiful state at all times. So beautiful state, like he uses those words all the time. He's like, live in a beautiful state at all times. And I was listening to an interview of him talking with Russell Brand, and Russell Brand's kind of like hippie dude,
He's sweet though. I
meditation type
like some
guy.
of his stuff.
I love him. Yeah, I follow him and look at his stuff a lot. But anyways, Tony Robbins was on that show, on his show, and was making it very clear to Russell that he's like, living in a beautiful state doesn't mean happy all the time or content all the time. He's like, beautiful can be anything. You can be beautifully sad. You can be beautifully grieving. And like Tony Robbins has lost like several parents, like blood and step parents throughout his life. And he's like, I was devastated. I was so sad. But it's like we look at as society. So this is me talking now, not Tony, but as a society, we look at negative emotions as bad. And so that's where the difference comes in, is it's like, okay, there's negative and positive emotions. And then we just automatically, because we're binary thinkers, if we're not careful, we just think, oh yeah, negative, bad, positive, good.
Right.
And it's like, so now we start thinking things like sadness is bad or anxiety is bad, because it's like you literally have an anxiety system in your body, because as back in the days when we were surviving, if you heard something in the bushes at night and it's dark, you started to feel anxious so that you could act. And so now our anxiety system is just getting triggered by tons of things. There's tons of triggers in this world and it's not shutting off. So yeah, it's turning into, it's it's becoming debilitating, and it's becoming an illness, a mental illness. But it's like, but it's not bad, so we can't be saying these that it's bad. And so it's just
Oh, it's because it's an emotion. Like as you're talking, it's kind of making sense to me. It's like, when you feel a good emotion, you're like, oh, this is good. Like I want to keep feeling this. But it's like it's just as equal and powerful of an emotion as the negative emotions. And obviously you're not going to go seek out negative emotions, but it's almost like you have to place equal value on, maybe not equal value, but pretty close to equal value on those negative emotions, because it's like it's the same, it's just on the opposite side of the spectrum of those emotions. So you have to place like worth in those emotions, because without those emotions you're not going to be able to like, I don't know, like we talked about, it brings meaning into your life. And so I think like as you're talking, it's kind of like, oh dang, like you kind of do need to place value in those negative emotions, because it's like it's just the opposite side of those. So if you say that these emotions are bad, then you're also kind of being like, well, these emotions are bad because you need to have both of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that's hard to put into words because it's something that we feel. And so I hope whoever's listening can kind of see what we're saying and feel what we're saying, because it is kind of difficult to put into words. And that's why, I want to start talking about it more and more so that I can figure out the best way to put it into words to teach somebody. But, I just, when I got sick Tuesday night and woke up Wednesday, I was just thinking um, about this whole coronavirus thing. And I was like, dang, people have freaked out because they don't want to feel negative emotions. When you're
Mhm.
sick, you have negative emotions in your body because you feel so crappy and it sucks. But it's like people are running away from a negative experience so fast and they're freaking themselves out. And I was, we were just talking before that, go look it up on cdc.org. They just published a study not 2 weeks ago that shows that they're getting numbers, raw numbers, that are showing that hovering around 43% of people who are dying from COVID are obese. And when you're obese, you have chronic diseases. And the next highest percentile of the reasons why people are dying from COVID is because of anxiety and fear. And they're literally, it's called the nocebo effect. So placebo would be you cause something positive to happen in your body via your mind. Nocebo is just the opposite, basically the same thing. But it's like these people are literally killing themselves by believing that this thing is so deadly and they're so scared of it. And so it's like, man, why are we running away from a negative feeling so fast? And it's like humans do this over and over. It's not just the COVID's just a good example because it's easy to see.
Recent.
It's
Yeah.
recent, it's on the minds, it's easy to see, but this is everything. We're running away from negative
I mean, that's why
feelings.
people don't work out, is because it's hard. It hurts. And
It's
it's like,
uncomfortable and it's like,
okay, I have a question. Why do you think like the natural man, why do you think he runs away from those negative emotions? Because I, like you said, like it's hard to formulate these into words. So maybe you could help me. But like that's my biggest question, is why? Because we know it's necessary to like the plan, like
yeah,
on a spiritual side. So I'm
yeah.
curious, why do you think he runs away from it so much?
Well, that's a good point because this really is just a spiritual matter. And, humans are very complex and you have, I would kind of say like, because you could look at yourself as you have three brains because there's actually neural tissue in your gut and on your heart. Like facts, dude, you have basically brain cells in your heart and 90% of your serotonin is created in your gut, which most people think of that as formed in your brain. So anyways, it's like you kind of have three brains. And if your gut and your heart is more like your soul slash spirit, then our brains are like the natural man, hardcore. And so if we're looking at like the brain on a physical level, one of the first things I ever learned when I got into self-help is that the the human brain is not designed to keep you happy. It's designed to keep you safe and alive. And so it's like, those are the keywords: safe and alive, safe and alive. Your brain does not care about anything else. Anything. Safe and alive, that's all your brain cares about. It doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care if you're content. Um, it doesn't care if you have what you want. As long as you're safe and alive, the brain's doing a good job. And that's what it's designed to do. And that's why humans have gotten so far. I mean, we're on the top of the food chain and we have like flabby little tiny bodies, you know, like
Mhm.
put us up against a gorilla physically, we're nothing. But with our brains,
Well, I mean, me, I could probably take on a
you get beat
gorilla,
up. Like,
but
Lenny, come on, you cannot
I
wrestle
could,
a gorilla.
you know, when I went to Alaska, I wrestled that bear. You know, I could take on a gorilla.
That's true. Got him in a chokehold. But it's so going back to that, so basically, I mean, your brain, one, it's designed to look for the negatives, which is funny because you need to look, you know, if you're out in the wild, it's like, okay, we got to look, we got to be aware, we got to know where the negatives are so we can know how to avoid them or attack them or whatever we need to do. Um, and so I think that's the main idea behind it. Your brain's just really designed to keep you safe and alive, and that's the way it's evolved. And that's what's kept. That's what's gotten us this far. Um, but now it's terrified of things that make you feel negative. Because think about surviving. If you're cold, that's a negative feeling. Your brain will say to you, "We're gonna die." And when you have those words rolling around in your head, "I'm gonna die," it's like, that's intense, dude. But now you hear people say they just had a stressful day at work and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm gonna die. This is so stressful." And it's like, you're not gonna die from work stress. Like, at least I don't think you are, but it's like, that's what your brain's telling you, because your
Right.
brain's like, "Oh my gosh, stressful situation, we're gonna die." And it's like, no, dude, chill out, you're not gonna die. And so one of the first things that Kirk Duncan actually teaches is you have to tell your brain literally, "You're not gonna die, you're fine, don't worry." And so, because your brain literally thinks it's a life or death situation anytime something goes wrong. And so that's where like the spiritual side of this comes in, the spiritual side of the philosophy of you need to learn how to allow and accept negative. And the brain is going to resist the crap out of that because it's not designed to do that. It's designed to, if it feels negative, it needs to fix it right now or else you're going to
Right.
die. That's what it thinks. But you have to remind yourself, no, 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 no. Like, we know this. We need good and bad. We need negative and positive emotions. We need good and evil. And so instead of resisting the freak out of it, we can just accept it. And it's like, this is what Jesus taught. This is what Buddha taught. It's like, accept, take up your cross. Buddha, there's tons of Buddhist meditations where it's all about acceptance in your life. It's not about changing anything in your life. It's just about purely accepting. And when you accept, it's pretty remarkable what happens. Like, here's some imagery to put along with this. There was this show that Riley and I were watching, and this one lady was holding on to a bunch of unrealistic expectations and fear, and it was really affecting her as a mother. So this lady came in. She's like a pro nanny, and she knows some psychology to kind of get into the kids and the parents' minds. And so she did this exercise with the mother where she made this little like a little prop up board with a hole in it, and so it had a hole just big enough for the mother's hand to go through, and then on the other side there was like a bowl of like pool ball size, and one of them said unrealistic expectations, the other one said like fear or whatever, and she's like, "Okay, now pick up your fear, and now take your hand through the hole." And like, when she's holding onto the fear, she can't move forward, so to speak, or the unrealistic expectations. But if she lets go of the ball, she can pull her hand out. And so um I just thought that was a pretty cool visualization. But it's like, my point is we're all so afraid of these things, but the funny thing is by being afraid of them, you're holding on to them, and it's causing you to remain stagnant / stuck in your life. But if you let go, which is a lot easier said than done, and that's a whole nother subject on its own, but it is possible. And you don't have to let go of everything completely. You can let go of little things, or you can loosen your grip here and there, and that's progress. But when you let go, quit using so much energy, because it takes a lot of energy to hold on to something. And then you don't have as much energy to do other things in your life. And so if you let go of it, you can start to regain a lot of your energy to heal or progress or repent or whatever, you know?
Yeah, no, I just wrote down that idea of a letting go type of podcast, because I think that like you said, that alone could take, of how you let go of things could take a whole, different direction. But I'm curious, because this is something that, like we talked about. I feel like, maybe you've been receiving more of a physical opposition recently. I feel like I've been receiving like an emotional opposition recently. And like Reese's wife Riley's like doing like the life coaching school, and so sometimes she needs help with like people to practice on. So recently, like, she just walked me through one of her um things, and one of the important like aspects of that is accepting some of these emotions and kind of not resisting them. One of the things that I don't know if it's just me, but like I have a hard time like thinking about like how do I like physically accept those emotions, because like outside of really like deep intense emotions, like I don't really like get emotional. I don't really like feel things like super deep unless it's like a really intense emotion. So I'm curious, because like we have little like setbacks or little negative emotions throughout the day, or even like bigger ones, but just like, all right, I don't need to deal with this right now. Like, what are some of the things that you do, or some ideas that you have on like how you can like physically, or just like in your mind, be like, all right, I'm going to accept this kind of emotion? Like, because to me, like, there's like a disconnect where I'm not really exactly sure how to do that.
Yeah, good question. I think the number one thing that comes to mind is meditation for me. And like I've tried to get my mom to meditate for a long time now, because I'm like, Mom, like this has been like one of the greatest medicines in my whole life. So, well, the first two things that would come to mind actually is meditation and being in tune with your body. So most people, they might, if I were to say to them, hey, you're probably not in tune with your body, they'd be like, I don't know what you mean, like that sounds like crazy talk. Or yes, I am, like I feel my body. And it's like, no, but you're really not. You're really ignoring the way you feel most of the time, most of the day. And so um a quick body scan meditation, 5 to 10 minutes, can really, that's good practice to get into deep meditation practices. But I lie down on the ground. Like ever since I broke my back, I just can't sit in a meditation position for more than 5 minutes until my muscles start aching. So when I meditate, I typically, like 9 times out of 10, I always lay flat on the ground. And I can remain wakeful in that position, especially if it's on a hard ground. Anyways, that's typically how I meditate how you want. Some people sit in chairs. I probably wouldn't meditate in bed unless you were trying to do a sleepy meditation, to go to sleep. But I mean, it's up to you, honestly. But so meditation is huge, because when you lay down and you do a body scan, where you start, I would take 3 to 5 really deep breaths, conscious breaths, and then just let it go back to normal. But then you start with either your toes or your head, and you just start really, if it, so if anyone has ever worked out, they know that mind to muscle connection is huge. Like it's
Right.
literally like one of the biggest things in the gym. Like my back, I was having a hard time growing my lats for the longest time. I'm finally starting to grow my lats, doing the
Is
same
that
exercises.
this right
Yeah, it's like
here?
the wing.
Okay.
I'm finally starting to grow them, doing the same exercises, like everything. But now I have a mind, and I can feel them now with my mind. And so it's like, dang, once you can feel a muscle, you can really drive the blood there.
That's my biggest thing. Just side note, with like working out my chest, if I'm not focusing on my chest muscle, I don't feel like I'm doing anything, because there's so many other muscles that you have to use when you're working out your chest. Because like your bicep, you're just like, all right, that's just my bicep or tricep, whatever. But it's like bench press, you're using your triceps, you're using your shoulders, or like
yeah.
even just other chest workouts. So I just wanted to reiterate, like when I'm working out my chest, I have to do that like super like conscious super
conscious
conscientiously, whatever.
Consciously, I guess.
Yeah. And so like my dad listened to our scrupulosity episode, and he's like,
Dude,
dude,
that's what I'm talking about.
he's like, I don't think you said it right one time. Anyways, he was just teasing me
Dude,
about
you
that.
just nailed it though.
Yeah, I know, because I practice. I felt dumb. Anyways, but like I just wanted to reiterate, like, that is huge, being able to like connect your mind to your muscles while you're working out. And so like it's kind of interesting, because you can like think the same thing. All right, how can I connect my physical body to these emotions that I'm trying to feel?
Yeah, and so it's huge because if you're not actually like truly feeling your body, you're getting into your body. So these are phrases that like if you're new to meditation or the hippie stuff or self-help, like it just sounds completely whack to be like, what do you mean get into my body? So things that can help to get into your body is working out because it kind of forces you into your body because
Mm-hmm.
if you're not really aware of what's going on inside your body, go work out and you'll feel it because your muscles will start burning like crazy and you'll feel it, or you're breathing so heavy, you're feeling the air go into your lungs. But then go do that when you're doing nothing, meditate and feel the air go into your lungs. It's a different experience. It's like it really, really gets your focus fine and your attention fine. And most people, I guarantee it, most people are feeling a lot of butterfly type feelings in their abdomen area or their chest, and they're not noticing. Or a lot of people nowadays are having shortness of breath because they're breathing really shallow. They're just kind of breathing into your lungs. But, if you were to go to a monastery, one of the first things they teach you as a monk is to breathe into your stomach, then your lungs, then exhale. And even psychiatrists nowadays, they'll do breathing exercises with anxiety patients and they'll have them breathe into their stomach. Then it's like, this is ancient medicine, is breath. And so that's kind of where I was wanting to lead this to, is the breath is like so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will sit down, they'll say, okay, I'm like, I've heard my psychologist told me to, like, if I'm feeling anxiety, just to breathe into my stomach, lungs, out. And then you do it for like 20 breaths and like you feel nothing, and it's like, yeah, it's like, it's going to take practice. You got to do it a lot. There's this guy named Jay Shetty, wrote one of these books up here. Anyways, he was a monk for 3 years, and he left the monastery, and now he just kind of, his book is called Think like a Monk. But anyways, he said it was his first day at the monastery. He had just left London, where he was from, big city boy, and there was a group of little kids, I think like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, like 5, 6, 7, and 8, like little kids. And there was the 8-year-old or whatever was teaching the class, and he asked the 8-year-old, hey, what are you guys learning today? This is like their kindergarten. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching them how to breathe. And because, dude, most people are breathing in just shallow into their lungs, but most people don't know this because they're not in tune with their body.
Right.
Or most people don't know that they have this anxious feeling. Like, when most people get anxious, they either feel it in their chest or their stomach area, like, one of the two or
It
both, or
affects your breathing.
yeah,
Like when you feel anxious, that's why you see athletes like Donovan Mitchell. Every time he does a free throw, you see him go like,
take
he
a
does
deep
like the
breath.
big breath. And so like that's interesting. I've never like necessarily connected the two, but like how when you do feel anxiety and stress, it's like it affects your breathing a lot. Like this previous Sunday, like when I was feeling a lot of these negative emotions, it was affecting my breathing. Like it was like trying to speed it up. It was trying. That's interesting. I didn't even like really make that connection until now, that when it attacks your breathing, so that probably means you need to like, it's almost like preparing yourself. So it's like when these negative emotions come, you need to be preparing yourself by figuring out, how to breathe and control your breathing so that it doesn't take a that's
Yeah,
interesting. I like that.
no, so the breath is like the big, dude, the breath, I always kind of resonated with like, what's the word, gurus and stuff, when they would talk about the breath, like when they said breath is life. If you can't control your energy unless you can control your breath. Like the breath is the bridge, the gateway to whatever. Anyways, it's just like everything's about the breath, and I always resonated with me, but I never really knew why. And when I started reading, or I guess listening to / practicing the Wim Hof method. So I was listening to Wim Hof a bunch and I started practicing his method. And one of the pillars, there's 3 pillars to his method, which is breath work, cold exposure, and mindset. And so breath work, I started doing breath work. I still remember the first time I did breath work. It was in my room at my parents' house, and I had been home from my mission for a little bit, and I had like an intense physical experience. Like it's a crazy feeling when you do the Wim Hof method. Your body gets charged up with oxygen, everything like tingles. Like it's hard to explain, but it's an absolute insane feeling. I mean, I held my breath for almost 3 minutes the first time I ever did it. I was like, what the heck? And like, you feel great. Like you're not pushing. But anyways, that's when I started to realize that, whoa, like this is why I've always resonated with this. It's because there's something to it. Like the breath is how you control your energy, and it's how you connect to the soul. And so the way I kind of view it is the breath is our bridge to the spirit. It's our physical bridge to the spirit, because it's just there's something spirit, there's a spiritual essence to the breath, because it's you can't see it, but it's still physical. It's still something I can control with my physical body, but it connects me on a very spiritual level. And so um breathing is just like hard to explain, but it's so true. If you breathing is the way to controlling your energy. Not to mention, here's a fun fact: part of the correct way of breathing into your stomach is it massages your intestines. And so a lot of people's intestines, one, they're so stressed out that all the blood is literally the blood vessels go like this to squeeze the blood out when you have cortisol running through. And by the way, cortisol is not always bad. See, this is another thing, back to the good bad thing.
What is cortisol again?
Cortisol is just one of the main stress hormones. There's several,
Okay.
but you always hear adrenaline, cortisol, because they're kind of the main ones. Studies are very clear that cortisol and adrenaline in short bursts in controlled ways are actually good for your body. But when it's elongated, that's when it can be detrimental to the body, because one thing cortisol and adrenaline do, okay, pause. When you do Wim Hof method breath work, you release adrenaline in your body. So you're putting your body in a stressed state for 20 to 30 minutes, but it ends up having remarkable healing results from it. So stress in little spurts can be really good, but most people are getting stressed out and then they're staying stressed out. And so cortisol literally constricts the blood vessels in the gut and in the major organs, liver, pancreas, kidneys. It pushes the blood out to the extremities. So you can run, punch, fight, hide, climb a tree, swim, whatever. So that's where the blood goes. And so that happens for a long time. So your digestive system starts to weaken, and then you get IBS. Everyone's talking about nowadays how like freaking so many people have irritable bowel syndrome and they don't know what it is. And it's like, dude, it's the freaking food you're eating, one, but it's you're stressed out so bad, and your freaking intestines are like, help us. And one tiny little thing that can help your digestive system run smoother is by breathing correctly, breathing into your stomach, then your lungs, then out. And when you're breathing into your stomach, you're breathing into the base of your lungs. It's just, if you breathe into your stomach, it puts the air down there, stretches all the organs in the stomach. It helps keep things loose, keeps things running well. And so I started getting into the breath on the mission, and I would often take
I
like
remember you would do like the primings. Is that breath stuff?
that's a breath
Priming?
work. Yeah. So
Or
that's a
is
type
that
of breath work.
meditation? Okay.
That's both. Yeah. So that's a type of breath work. But dude, I should talk about breath work now, because like it's sick. Dude,
Do
I
you
want to
want
do
me to make a note of it or like talk
no, we
about it
should,
right now?
if you're good with bringing it up just a little bit, going
Yeah,
into more
let's
depth
do
right
it.
now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the Wim Hof method specifically is, so if you don't know who Wim Hof is, like, I am so sorry. Like, this dude is freaking awesome. So he's from the Netherlands. He's so funny. But anyways, he's basically a dude who, I think he had 4 kids, still does, but he was a father.
It's
And
like he had
yeah,
4
they all
kids.
did.
Yeah.
But no. So his story is that his wife jumped off of a building and killed herself and left him with the kids. And obviously he was extremely depressed. And he said that as a kid, he would be attracted to go sit in the ice water. And he never knew why. It was like when he was 17 years old was the first time he ever went and sat. It was at the lake, and it had a little part of the lake where the ice was broken, and he went and sat in there, and it forced him to take deep breaths. And so after his wife killed herself, he was feeling, who knows what you're feeling, man. Like the
Right.
world's crushing on you and you have 4 kids to take care of. And so he kept getting this spiritual inclination to go sit in the ice water. And he's like, that's so weird. Like, why should I? And so he started sitting in the ice water every day, and it was forcing him to take these enormous deep breaths. And he's like, when I was in the ice water, I wasn't thinking about my kids or the fact that my wife had just killed herself. I was thinking about breathe. That's it. And it started to heal him. And he didn't know how or why, but it started to heal him physically and emotionally and spiritually and mentally, like on a very deep level. And so then he just went on to live this insane life where he developed this breath work technique and cold exposure, and he's broken like 28 world records, broken slash set. He sat in ice, literally surrounded in ice for like an hour, and he raised his skin temperature by a degree. It didn't go down. Everyone else's skin temperature would just plummet. There was this study that had been going on for years and years, I think in the Netherlands, but they would inject patients with an endotoxin, basically just a bacteria, and then they would just see what it did to the body. And every single time, I don't know the exact number, but it was something like 5,000 or 6,000 patients had been tested with this endotoxin, and every single one of them, 100% of them, got flu-like symptoms 15 to 20 minutes later that lasted for about an hour. So headache, fever symptoms, body aches, sniffles, things like that. Well, Wim Hof comes in and he says, I'm experiencing all these effects from my breath work that are healing me, and the science isn't there to back it up yet. And so people don't believe me. They just think I'm a freak of nature. So I need you guys to inject me with the endotoxin, and I'm going to do my breath work and watch. And so they inject him with the endotoxin. He does his breath work and his meditation, and he fights off the endotoxin, and he gets zero symptoms. And so then they're just like, whoa. And this is all documented under studies. And then they're just thinking, okay, you're just a freak of nature. Like,
Right.
and he's like, well, watch, I'm going to get people, I'm going to teach them this. They've never even heard of me. I'm going to teach them the breath work in 4 days, inject them with the endotoxin, and they'll have the same result. And that's exactly what happened. And so now people can go get injected with that endotoxin, do his breath work with the mindset, and it has no effect on them. And he duplicated it with several other people. And so that's when people started to take this man seriously. And now he has a book right there. The Wim Hof method is what it's called. Just came out in 2020, actually. But anyways, I'll explain the breath work briefly. So what the breath work is you take 30 to 40 deep breaths, and you don't exhale them all the way out. You would just be like, just like let it out. And stomach, lungs out, stomach, lungs out, like a wave of the ocean. And you do 30 to 40 of those. And on your last one, you let it all the way out. So you let all the air out of your lungs, and then you just hold it. And it's called a retention. And so you hold that for as long as you can. It's not a contest. It doesn't matter how long you hold it. Most people, after their first round of 30 breaths, will hold their breath for 30 seconds to a minute.
Holy crap.
Uh-oh. I gave away my superpower. I mean,
Riley walks in, she's like, oh, we're 27 minutes. You're just like,
I'm like, she's like, you get up. I'm like, purple. Oh, good.
What's the longest someone's ever held their breath for?
Oh, dude, like 30 minutes.
Serious?
Oh, dude, David Blaine held it for 17 minutes.
I don't know.
I'm gonna look up David Blaine breath hold.
Longest someone. Every time I have to type like under pressure, I always like start freaking out and typing every word wrong.
Yeah, David Blaine held it for more than 17 minutes while he was in water on Oprah.
Dang.
He's insane. And he talks about the science of how he did that.
This says the current this is just like the first thing that pulls up on Google. It says the non-oxygen aided record stands at 11 minutes, 35 seconds. What the heck? That doesn't sound right. If that dude held it for 17 minutes.
David Blaine just did a lot of types of breath work to train himself. 17 minutes, man. That video is insane. It's so scary to watch him. He's like in this glass sphere of water. It's terrifying. Anyways. So here's how the breath work works. You do 3 to 4 rounds. Each round you do, I usually do at least 30 to 40 deep breaths. On the last breath, you let all the air out. You hold your breath for as long as you can. You don't push yourself. Like as soon as you have the urge to breathe, you breathe in. And after the third or fourth round or whatever, you can meditate, or you can go get in the ice bath, or you can just go about your day. But you will feel better after 3 rounds, like every single time. And I know some of the science behind it. It's very complicated. Like it balances your pH in the body, because a lot of us are too acidic. Most people are too acidic with the processed foods we're eating and with the stress. So it balances the pH in your body. Like I said, it gives you that little spike of adrenaline, which aids with some different different factors in the body, but it also increases your pain tolerance. So it can help you with the ice bath. And so
But
when I
like
was,
I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, if you're breathing right, your breath is almost like a filter to like, I mean, like I don't know the science super well behind it, like the carbon dioxide and oxygen. Like when you're breathing, you're filtering out, you know, just I would assume toxins and like just things like that. So like to me, like I'm just thinking about it, I'm like just rationally thinking about it. It's like, yeah, like that would make sense that your breath is almost like a filter for a lot of the things. And it's like if you're not breathing right, then it's almost like your filter's not working right. So
yeah,
you think about when your filter stops working in your car, it's like the air conditioning stops working, and then all of a sudden it's super hot, and then it's almost like you're like, I don't even want to be in the car right now. So it's just kind of
mm-hmm.
crazy how when your filter isn't working, it affects a lot of different things. Anyways,
Yeah, no, and that exactly. And dude, another thing that breath work does is it lowers inflammation throughout the body. Like this is just crazy that with your breath you can lower inflammation, you can balance the pH level in your body. Like what? With your breath, that's it. And not to mention it's like crazy. Like you can reach altered states of consciousness a lot faster with breath work. So like if you're trying to meditate and get into alpha or theta states, which are, you know, lower frequencies of brain waves, and it can be difficult to get. It takes a lot of practice to be able to get into those. Well, you can do 3 rounds of breath work and go straight into a meditation and be in alpha by the end of your breath work session, and be in theta by the end of your meditation session. You can get really, really deep physically. It also has some physical sensations which are like insane. I've like blacked out by doing it before too, which is actually a good thing because it feels amazing, which is really weird. Like getting choked out or blacking out is very euphoric. Like it's not uncommon to have Navy SEALs who are in the water training, and part of that training, as far as I've heard, could have changed now, but part of that training was or slash is the Navy SEAL has to be held underwater till he completely blacks out, and then they pull him up. And um, most of the time when the Navy SEAL gets pulled up, he just blacked out underwater. They pull him up. He's like, "Oh, that felt good. Like, let's do that again." It's like, what? But it feels good. It's super freaking weird, man. But
I don't know if you remember, but this is just totally random. But I would black out all the time if I like stood up too fast. Or I don't think
oh yeah,
affected me a ton on my mission. But it's like it's the weirdest thing ever. Like you like stand up and you like can't see anything,
you're like, I
and
gotta
you're just
sit
like,
down.
there's only been one time I've like passed out and I like woke up on this is like in high school. I like stood up. I was like watching YouTube for like 4 hours at the kitchen table. And then I stood up, just like blacked out. I woke up on the floor. I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't hit my head on anything.
Dang, yeah,
Anyways,
no, I've passed out, and that does not feel good.
like it's weird. You're like, am I blind? Like, am I ever gonna see again? Anyways, it's like a
I
weird.
know, so scary, dude. But this is a little bit different. This actually feels good because yeah, I passed out and that is horrible. You like get back and you're like, eh. Anyways, so breath work is just like incredible. Like the physical effects are amazing. It fights off chronic disease via lowering inflammation. It increases your pain tolerance. It helps you in the cold, but it also just connects you to your body, because when you're doing breath work and you're charging yourself up with all that oxygen, you get so freaking tingly, man. It's crazy. And like I'll get like this really good tight feeling in my chest, and when you release it all, it kind of feels like it that tight feeling goes away when you exhale, and it like takes the negative emotion with it. Because I mean, breath is energy, emotions are just energy. They're just energy blobs that vibrate at a certain frequency, and that certain frequency causes certain hormones to be released. It's just the energetic world of emotion. It manifests itself through hormones and chemicals in the body. So a lot of people will say emotion is just chemicals and hormones. It's like, no, emotion, everything is energy in this universe. If you're not thinking in that way, then you're way behind, man. It's like everything is energy and so is emotion. And it's like, well, yeah, we can see the effects of that energy because that energy vibrating causes certain organs, our brain, our adrenal glands, things like that. It causes them to release certain chemicals / hormones. Anyways, and so the breath can really help shake things up in here because most people are holding their energy in their first 3 chakras, and there's because it's survival. And so most people's energy is all stuck here. It's just all stuck down here. That's why everyone's having problems in their gut. Everyone's having, like I said, IBS. Leaky gut is huge right now, where the lining of your intestines is literally leaking, microscopic, but it causes a lot of inflammation. People are having liver problems. People are having pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, on and on and on. Like most dudes get prostate cancer. It's like all this right here, stomach cancer, obesity. It's like all the metabolic diseases, they're all starting here. It's like, that's because that's where all of our energy is just stuck, and it's just stagnant energy, and it's vibrating at a certain frequency, and the vibration starts to cause all of our systems and organs to vibrate at that frequency, and certain frequencies manifest certain things. So if you're vibrating at certain disease vibrations, that's what's going to come. And so if the breath work can help liberate that, I kind of feel like it's, if this is your heart chakra, most people are stuck below it in the abdomen, and there's kind of like a dam where the sternum is, and the breath work really gets the energy moving, and it like breaks the dam, and it can really help get energy flowing through the body. I don't bring up energy that much because I think it's just like unconsciously, I'm like, I don't know if people will, I don't know what people think about it, but I think I've also been thinking about this a lot. Sorry, my mind's kind of all over the place. But
no, you're good. I want to be like taking notes over here.
No, so I've been thinking about this, dude. I've been thinking about this clip I was listening to with Jordan Peterson. He was saying that, so he was talking to Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss is an entrepreneur. He wrote the book 4 Hour Work Week. Super cool guy. But he was talking to Jordan Peterson on his podcast, and he was talking to Jordan about Jordan's Bible lectures, his biblical series lectures that he did, and where he talks about the significance, psychological significance of the biblical stories. They're awesome lectures. They're long. Each one's like 3 hours, but I haven't listened to all of them, but the ones I have listened to, they're remarkable. But anyways, he was talking to him about those, and Tim said to Jordan, do you think everybody should read the Bible? And Jordan Peterson said, well, I don't think anything is for everybody, but I do encourage you that if you live in this Western civilization, you better know what the Bible consists of, because that's what you're, like it or not, the Western civilization is built off of the Bible. That's facts. That's what it's built off of. And so you might as well know what's in there to know the way your society runs. But here's what he said is what I really liked, and he said it in so perfectly with the words he used. I should have just memorized how the way he said it, but I'm going to try to explain it well. But he basically said, most of the thoughts you think aren't yours per se. It's just like you were raised in this civilization, in this community, in this society, so you think like that. But here everyone is thinking that they're so independent and they're so amazing, they're coming up with all these original ideas and these original thoughts, and it's like, no, like you're part of this intricate web of consciousness, and you've been raised to think this way. You've been raised with these belief systems, and out of your belief systems it comes all your thoughts. And so that just is kind of like an eye-opener, where it's like, dang, like if I was born in the Ukraine, like the far east of Europe, I would not think like this.
Right.
I would think completely different, completely different. And so it's like that will cause you, if you really think about what I just said, that will cause you to challenge belief systems you have set in already, because they're not your belief systems. You just happen to be born here in America or Canada, shout out FA, and which is
Hey,
Western, it's like you've just been happy, you happen to live here, and these belief systems is what's here. And so it's like that's what your thoughts are coming out of. And so challenge them, because just because that's where you were born doesn't mean they're all right. Some
right.
of them are right. There's a lot of good that's come out of Western civilization, but it's like everything is energy, man. Like that's just facts. Like you can't argue it anymore. You seriously can't argue it anymore. It's a foolish argument to make, because you won't win. Everything's connected. Everything's energy. Everything is vibrating. Like there's it's not just atoms. It goes so much deeper than atoms. It's little strings of energy that are connecting everything. And the sooner you realize that we're all connected, we're all one, I mean, so many problems go away in your life. You stop judging people so much. You start holding on to the past so much. But it really, you can really start these practices with breath work. Like and there's many different forms of breath work. Wim Hof method is by far, I recommend it the most. But yeah, I would do the priming, which is a pretty intense breathing exercise through your nose where you're having your hands up like that. But that's like a little bit different. But yeah, that's a type of breath work. They all get you into your body. And then there's the slow types of breath work where, it's like 10 seconds inhalation, 3 seconds hold, 10 seconds exhalation, 3 seconds hold. That would be like a rectangle breath work where, it's like 10 seconds, 3, 10 seconds, 3. But anyways, dude, I just like can't say it enough. Like breath work, and it's coupled right there with meditation, but I just really
Right.
want to focus on the breath work, because anyone can do the breath work. Like meditation takes a lot of practice, but breath work doesn't take any practice. You just sit down, I will count for you, do 30 breaths. On the 30th one, let it all out, hold it for as long as you can. When you need to breathe in, and then you do 30 more, do the same thing, 30 more, do the same thing. By round 3, you're holding your breath for 2 to 4, sometimes 5 minutes. Like it's insane. um
So I'm
Anyways,
curious with like just maybe in kind of like conclusion, if someone that doesn't really know a whole lot about this, like someone that's trying to get into it, like I feel like I've meditated a little bit. It's not something that I've done consistently recently, but like someone that's trying to get into this, trying to get into breath work, because like you said, like this all started because we asked about what's one of the ways that you can learn how to accept and kind of live with some of these negative emotions. And we talked about one of the biggest ways, like you said, was learning how to meditate and to breathe. And so someone that like myself that might be kind of newer to learning how to control your breath and doing some of these things, what's like one like simple thing you could try and do, like whether it's every day or every couple of days, to try and like start to get into this, to be able to not overwhelm yourself, but just like a quick like thing that you could do to try and kind of get your feet wet and try
yeah.
and learn a little bit about it.
Well, I'll tell you where I started is number one thing was I started becoming aware of how I breathed, because I was like, yeah, how do I breathe? And so step one is recognize how you are breathing right now every single day. And so that's easy. Like I just planted it into your brain. And now tomorrow, while you're going about your day, all of a sudden, randomly, you're going to be like, oh yeah, how am I breathing? And then tune in, and you're breathing into your chest, man. Like people are just taking shallow little breaths into their chest. And there's a whole book about shallow breathing called Breath. And it's freaking scary, like how bad it is to breathe, one, chronically through your mouth, and two, shallow into your breath or into your chest. Like these guys have been doing tons of studies for years, and they're showing like so like high blood pressure, strain on the heart, like bad things start to happen breathing through your mouth shallow for years and years. And so anyways, become aware and notice, and then start feeling what it feels like to breathe into your stomach, because it kind of feels weird at first because you're not used to it. but you'll start to realize like, whoa, I can breathe way more into my lungs. Like my lungs can fit a lot more. And the funny thing is the muscles that are used to fill up the bottom of your lungs by breathing into your stomach, you haven't used them a lot. So it's actually like really tiring to breathe like this at first, and it takes a lot of conscious effort. Um, and now it's just something I do. But like I said, I started becoming aware of my breath this winter slash spring of 2019. So it's been a minute, you know. Anyway, so I would start there, and then I would 100% recommend anybody go try the Wim Hof method breathing. Just type in Wim Hof on YouTube, type in Wim Hof method guided breathing, and there's a video posted by his account on YouTube. It's 11 minutes long. So this is like beginner. It's 3 rounds of 30 with like short retention times, which is like the holding your breath time. So it like helps you learn. That's the first one I ever did. And my recommendation when you do that is, one, seriously do it. But the first time I ever did it, I experienced a lot of like intense physical feelings. Don't be afraid of them. Like actually try to intensify them. So it's impossible to explain to you if you haven't felt it, but for some people it can get kind of scary because like one of the things, like your lip will like go like this and you like can't move it because it's just so intense, dude, and like your face just kind of gets like it's like, don't get scared. Like it's just oxygen in your blood that's doing that. It's like breathe into that, really see how deep you can get. And um that, I mean, with that breath technique, people fought off an endotoxin in real time and had zero flu symptoms.
Right.
When before that, they had 6,000 patients, 100% of them had flu symptoms. And then they breathe like this and it goes away. And so it's just remarkable what you can do with it. So, yeah, just become aware, start practicing breathing into your stomach, then your chest, then out. And when you start to get stressed, you'll notice that you stopped breathing into your stomach and that you're taking shallow breaths. You'll notice 10 out of 10, and then change it and start breathing into your stomach, because body language works both ways. An emotion can come into your body, cause your body to go into a certain position, but it also works the opposite way. If I, stand up straight with my shoulders back and breathe into my stomach and take deep breaths, it also works in reverse. So it can also change my state that way. But yeah, just, it's so crazy once this starts to happen. Like once you figure out one day, it'll just click like, oh, this is what Reese was talking about. Like the breath is how I can connect with my soul. Like it just sounds so far out, but it's like, that's the best I can put it into words. Right. And one day it'll just click, like for those of you who are like, this bananas, practice it. One day you'll be like, oh, I see what he's saying.
Yeah, no, I think for me, it's motivating to want to try and do it, because I've just like recently been trying to figure out, ways to, continue to I think just as you live life, you continue to learn that there's just going to be opposition, there's just going to be trials involved. And so trying to figure out ways to better go about those, finding ways to be better prepared for when those do happen, I think it's motivating to want to try and figure out, so that you can just have as many tools in your tool belt as possible. Yeah. Because it's like, a lot of the times people might just, like I'm sure you met people that every time they have a problem, all of a sudden they're just like praying like a ton, and like that's all they do. And it's like, that's really good sometimes to like just turn to prayer, but like sometimes you're like, it's a physical, pain, or it's a physical or mental thing. Then you can pray all you want, but it might not, help you, help with your gut or whatever it might be. And so just being able to add another tool of like, well, I can work on my breath work and pray. Or then it's like, all right, I'm reading my scriptures, saying my prayers, and doing breath work and working out. And so then it allows you to not, it just allows you to have more tools in your tool belt to be able to handle and accept some of these emotions. So for me, it's kind of exciting to be able to learn about, being able to do that. So to me, it's definitely motivating and something that I definitely, want to continue to learn about and try out. So maybe I'll try it out and have to report back to
I'll do it with you,
the nation to see how it's going.
Dude, if you're down, like once we hit like hit off this, I'd be down to get back on another one and do it live if you want. But
All right.
dude, it's cool. But the last thing I was going to say about breathwork, just facts, is that it boosts nitric oxide in your body, which I don't know everything that nitric oxide does, but I do know that it improves blood flow, and it also with improved blood flow, it can bring energy. Like a lot of pre-workout supplements have certain supplements in there that boost nitric oxide. And so it's like, why pay for some supplement that probably has a bunch of nasty ingredients in it when I can just do breath work in my car before I go into the gym and I'm surging with nitric oxide and I can go lift the weights way better. And so it's like crazy what you can do with breath, man. It's really powerful. So anyways, that yeah, that episode went where it pleased.
Supposed to go.
Yeah, where it's supposed to go. So thank you for letting me talk and listening to me. So I've just been sitting home with COVID for a week, and so haven't like ranted about
Your
everything.
thoughts are ready to go.
Yeah,
No,
man.
I appreciate it. I think it's really good information. And if you're someone that's listening, like Reese said, he's someone that knows. I don't know if you call yourself an expert. I would, but like I think you're someone that knows a good amount about this. And so
No, I know
if
a
this
good
is
amount.
something that you want to continue to learn about, I'm sure we'd love to be able to help you and be able to kind of maybe walk you through some of the techniques and being able to continue just to help improve your life just a little bit. Kind of the theme of at least my thought process with some of these like self-help or even just like spiritual things is it's not supposed to make the tough times go away. It's not supposed to take these trials and negative emotions out of your life. It's the self-help and self-development and following your spiritual beliefs is to take those tough times and to just make them a little bit easier, because it's like we don't need to make things harder on ourselves than we need to. And that's kind of what I've been learning. I think, for like you said, like your thought process is, if I do self-help or if I'm spiritual, then I'm never going to have any problems. And that's definitely not true. And so it's interesting, just as we're continuing to, mature as people and mature in our understanding of self-help and spiritual matters, it's interesting to learn that it's like, all right, these negative things, these emotions, these feelings, these events are going to happen. And it's just how can I put myself in the best position to make the best out of that situation. And so it's just cool to be able to, it's exciting to learn just different ways that you can continue to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, it's just more tools on the belt, which is never a bad thing. So thank you so much for listening. We're going to get some guests back on here
We
soon.
got some good guests coming on. And so this is out there. We don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but Anderson and Lindhardt is going to be speaking at an institute event at some point coming here this fall. So we'll be able to maybe we should live stream it or something and record it. But like,
Yeah.
anyways, we got some exciting things coming for you guys. We've talked about doing seminars and stuff like that, and I think that's kind of like an exciting, maybe like first step towards that. So we're excited for some of the things that we have happening, and we're committed and dedicated to the nation, because we want to be able to help as many people as we can. So we're excited, and let us know if there's anything we can do for you guys.
Amen. Love y'all.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.